Look, hiring can be pretty time-consuming. Not as time-consuming as looking for a job, but you post a job to several online job sites. You get a ton of the wrong resumes. Then you have to sort through all these resumes just to find a few people with the right skills and experience. Those job sites that overwhelm you with the wrong resumes, they're not smart. That's why you should do the smart thing and go to ZipRecruiter.com/Fitz. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter finds qualified candidates for you. It's powerful. Matching technology scans thousands of resumes to identify people with the right skills, education, and experience, and actively invites them to apply to your job so you get qualified candidates fast. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the U.S. This rating comes from hiring sites on Trustpilot with over 1,000 reviews. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/Fitz. If you love this show, show your support. ZipRecruiter.com/FITZ. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Fitz. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now, here's the podcast. Welcome to FitzDog Radio.
Yeah.
I'm my incorrigible guest.
Stop it.
Was that incorrigible or encourageable?
Yeah, incorrigible.
Ooh, I didn't know we'd have two wordsmiths. Whoa, I'm working off of wordsmiths today. Why
we
am I
have
that voice?
we have the hosts of Thought Spiral.
Oh, God.
Yes.
J. Elvis Weinstein and Andy Kindler.
Weinstein.
Thank you,
Oh,
Andy.
God.
He's my
That
name.
must
He's my
haunt
name
you.
caddy.
That must haunt you in
You
your
know,
life.
Doesn't matter.
I had stopped correcting people until a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's back.
But it was, I remember when Louis Anderson won the Emmy for Baskets, deservedly.
Right.
Yeah, I love him.
Thank you for
the Emmy.
Thank you for the Emmy. I want to thank Rick Greenstein. No, what is it? It's supposed to be Rick Greenstein, right?
Oh, well,
And he said Rick Greenstein. Whatever it is, he said the wrong way. And I should know because he's my agent as well.
Wait, isn't Rick Greenstein? Is it Stein?
Greenstein.
Isn't he the one who used to go wear shorts at the Montreal a lot? No.
Oh, did he?
I don't think so. I'm mixing him up with some other people.
Yeah.
Someone named Jim. And that's it. That's all I need today. Thank you very much. Do you still do, either one of you still do this joke? Okay, I'm going to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you make you believe.
During a podcast?
Or anything. Or, that's my show.
Oh, yeah. I've totally done that. Yeah, what I'll do is when I'm on stage, I'll try to launch into like a new bit, and I'll just push it and try to find it. And if it goes nowhere, then I'll go, thank you very much. And I
That's
just
right.
walk off stage. And I got that from Kevin Meaney.
Oh.
Kevin Meaney used to do that all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you know what the other thing is? Like, I used to do I've prepared a short speech and then I unfurl like a large, toilet paper thing.
Scroll.
I prepared some brief remarks. And it's hilarious.
A lot of people
I'd
don't
like
know
to
that
yell the
Andy
rest
goes
of
on
my-
stage with a Harpo Marx prop kit tucked in his coat.
Wait a second. I never was aware that there was a Harpo Marx. What is the Harpo? Is that something you can get in a magic store?
You go to Jack's Joke Shop down on La Cienega.
Have you seen my trick? Here's my trick.
Yeah.
Look at this. It's one felt rabbit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 3 of them of that size.
That's a good podcast bit.
That is good.
3.
Audio close-up magic.
Do you see this, sir? Have we ever met before? Regardless, nevertheless, that's not part of the bit. Look at this. It looks just like one real rabbit.
Yeah.
You're so far away that you don't get that it's real.
This sounds like something you did when you were 8 years old, alone in
No,
your
my
room.
brother did this one. This is another good podcast one. My brother would take a quarter,
Yeah.
and for hours in front of you, he would show you how he could make it disappear behind you. But
right.
he didn't do it that well.
Right.
You know the trick?
It sounds like a Jewish trick. Take
No,
little
it's a
money.
real. It's a John. If you spoke to John Carney, this would be an actual trick. But he would do it. He wouldn't
Yeah.
spend 4 hours looking at you.
It
Using-
sounds like what the agencies are doing with packaging, isn't it?
That's right.
Are we going on strike? Are we
What?
striking?
Who?
Do you know what's going on with the WGA versus
Oh,
the...
sorry. I heard WGA. I could care less.
Oh.
You know what? You guys stop striking. I'm going to scab whatever it is. No, what's happening?
Oh my God!
The WGA is trying to not re-sign with the agents because of their packaging practices.
Packaging, if you're not familiar with Hollywood,
is what I have in my pants. You laughed at that. I think you really did laugh at that.
Every time you put on your underwear, you're packaging.
That's right. That's how I call it. That's what I call it. 6 inches, but some people like it that wide. Classics.
It's a paint can.
We heard someone stumble through a dick joke last night with the improv.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm trying to remember what
The
The dick joke was something where he goes, and my shoulders were all, and my penis was broad, and he meant, and he substituted shoulders. But I didn't see. He's like, when you have to struggle for a dick joke, that's when you need.
That's the one that should really be at the ready in the holster.
Yeah.
If you're telling your friend, do you think they're going to get my dick joke when I relate to Voltaire?
That's Tom Rhodes.
We
I had
also
Tom
heard,
Rhodes on. He brought up Voltaire several times, and I felt stupid.
Well, because you're not. I didn't tell you about this about him. He will do a thing where you'll start. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. He'll start talking to you, right?
Yeah.
They'll be arguing. He couldn't care less, Greg Fitzsimmons. He doesn't care about anything. He's like, even with Hitler, he's kind of neutral with the whole thing. So he'll start to go with the facts. He'll bring you solid facts.
Yeah.
Of course, 1939, they invaded Poland, and then within 2 sentences, he starts to make up things.
I make up facts.
And you don't even you
But
don't
with the conviction
yeah,
of a TED Talk.
and you lay the foundation of truth.
Yeah, you start with the truth. Yeah, right. And the crazy thing is that people think I'm smart in this town.
Well, you are smart. That's
I'm
the thing.
not really not smart.
No, you're smart, but you're not well read. Let's not kid
I
ourselves.
know I read, but I don't remember it. I have a terrible memory.
Well, the first
I
10
read the New York Times cover to cover every week, the New Yorker cover to cover, and I read articles online, Washington Post. I read books. I listen to audiobooks, and it all goes straight through. But I like the feeling of putting the information in,
Right.
even though I know it's coming right out again.
Yeah,
Right, but-
I funnel a lot of information in and out in any given day.
But it feels good, doesn't it? To
Yeah, it feels
ingest
like what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Josh, if you started to talk about something you knew about, you would continue on. What this guy does is you go, oh, I'm going to learn something about Aaron Burr now because he had he used the 10 minutes of his audio tape book. That's all he hears.
He
the
ran
first
a
10
salmon
minutes.
foundry.
Well, he shot Hamilton.
I know, but because
That's
of
the
the
real-
play,
that's
because
the
of the
real
musical.
fact.
I never saw it.
You're starting
I
with
never
the real
saw the play.
fact.
I already knew that.
Yeah.
I already knew that. And when he shot him, he actually, people don't know this, the bullet bounced off a rock from behind him, and Aaron Burr was shot in the foot by his own bullet.
Oh, wait, who won? I forgot who won. Burr, right?
Burr won.
And but shouldn't and he killed Madison? Who did he
No.
kill?
No,
Alexander
Hamilton.
Gore Vidal. He killed Gore Vidal.
Yes.
I swear to God, I thought he killed Gore Vidal. Because Gore Vidal used to argue with Buckley.
That's right. It's
So
true,
who-
he did.
Who did get killed? Wait, don't tell me. Hamilton Burger from Perry Mason. Who was the duel? Gore, Al Gore, and Burr. I can't think.
Yeah.
Give me a clue.
It was Bill Burr.
Right.
He shot Bill Burr.
See, back in the Revolutionary days, that joke would go nowhere.
Do you think Bill Burr should open? Because when you become rich, you have to come up with tax dodges, and people buy restaurants. What if he opened up a chain called Bill Burgers?
Wait, could he somehow get into the Wahlburger?
Oh, that's
Heat,
right.
too?
It's already been done. I was totally kidding, and he actually did it.
No, but I think he could come out and say Bill Burger and Wahlburger together.
Which Wahlberg did it? Was it Donnie or was it
I think-
Mark?
I think it's a family. I think
family
I
did
think
it?
one brother is the sort of food head, and then I think Mark's the money.
But I think there's another brother who never made it, who's probably working the counter.
Yeah, I think that's the one. No, I think that's the food
Yeah.
food guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You should go in there and say, "You're the one who didn't make it, right?"
This
They
is
love
Jim
that kind
Wahlberg,
of
our other
joke.
brother. He's just as good as us, really.
Right.
And when I say, don't get me wrong, when I say didn't make it, I mean failed in life. Don't take it the wrong way. And all those burgers will. No, you see, he is an actual person who's not frightened to get beaten up. Because this guy, Craig Fitzsimmons,
Is that true? Are
Yeah,
you not,
he is
you're
not
frightened to
frightened.
get beaten
No.
up. Okay.
It's not that. It's that when I lose my temper, I no longer factor in that I might get beat up.
Gotcha.
And I act more aggressive than my 150-pound frame should.
Like he'll stop on the freeway, stop the traffic completely, get out, so they go, excuse me. You got into this lane. I didn't see a signal, though. Did you signal? People swimming back.
Swimming?
So that's interesting.
Wait a minute. What's swimming?
It's a word. It's a word.
I don't believe. I'm going to Google swimming real
He'll
quick.
substitute noises sometimes for words, I find.
When I first
See,
met...
Jewish people just think that we're going to go, oh, it's Yiddish. And
We're
let 'em
big
get
on
away with it.
onomatopoetics.
You're so... He's more anti-Semitic than I've ever been. And you know what? I was telling Josh, I'm going back into
I
history.
knew that Hitler invaded Poland in 1938.
Because we aggravated him.
9, wasn't it 9?
We
I
aggravated
was
them,
saying it wrong
ultimately.
on purpose.
Oh, okay.
You aggravated it?
Yeah.
that all
Why
it
did we get
was?
on Hitler's nerves? I don't know where I was going with that story.
Is that your new bit, that the Jews aggravated Hitler?
Look, I had a friend, and I'm not kidding. I stopped at the friendship with
You
him.
have to say I had a friend.
had a
I'm
friend.
not kidding.
Shit, I'm
well,
not
you're my
recording.
current friend, and you're...
Just
Okay,
kidding.
you have to explain to him, because guess who also...
We've had one of those.
You
We
did?
had one of those,
Yes,
yeah.
and who
I've
didn't
had
let him
3.
forget? Who hasn't let him forget it?
You.
How's it going, Josh? Before we drive to get a pizza, would you like to turn something on? Oh, that red light, that's for the air conditioner. Remember the time it didn't turn on the podcast?
All right.
Well, tell him our story, which was a classic story.
We're at the Sirius XM studios, which, this is no longer on Sirius. This is just a podcast.
Oh, I wouldn't have done this if I thought it was just the one.
Thanks for coming in. Take care. That's where you should have done it.
Thanks for... Oh, great.
Right.
Oh, it's not on Sirius?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thanks a lot. Thanks. I do everything through Pandora's box now.
You can Spotify me
Yeah.
on. So we recorded what I considered one of our best podcasts.
Yeah. Of course, because
I
we
mean,
lost it.
Andy was on a roll.
No, we
it
were on a
really
roll. We
was.
were on
it
a
really
roll.
was like
Yeah.
inspired. And then we finished, and I looked down. No, I don't think that was my fault. I think that was my engineer.
It may,
wasn't it?
but first explain that we did the whole Sirius show first,
Yeah.
and then we did the second show.
That's right. I used to do a serious show
Okay.
live, and then we would record a podcast immediately after.
Okay.
So now we've done 2 full hours of his manic absurdity. And then I look down and I go, we didn't record that second hour.
Second hour.
So he goes, let me call Susan. He calls up Susan Malgin, who was developing some photographs at the time,
In the dark room.
in the dark room.
Right.
And she said, go ahead, do another hour. And we did another hour, and it was almost as good as the one we just did.
It was unbelievable because we all committed to it.
Yeah.
Whereas when we...
Was Gibbons there?
But Susan had to flip on the light in order to find the phone to answer, and you ruined her entire
Ruined
show.
her entire-
No, she said, oh, my God, another hour without fuckface. I can't believe I said that. Yes. I forgot what I was going to say. But
yes, I like that it started with yes,
Yes, and...
Yes.
Yes, and
And-
I also don't have anything to add. Yes, and...
though. Don't you think yes and is a little overused now in entertainment? The truth is, you may not have an and.
Right.
Right. Or
You know-
you may have a no that's funny.
Right. Yeah, I want to go back.
It's a
Go
general
back.
rule, but every time they say it, the improv people say it, they act like it's the unified field theory.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, have you seen any improv? Whoa, let me stop you.
In fact,
Agree.
I taught a class last Friday at Second City.
You taught a class?
Yes, a master class with
Really?
at the Harold Ramis Film School.
See?
Wait, hold on a second. I didn't know this about you. You are you came out of that school? Did you?
I did not. No.
So how
I
are you
was-
teaching a master
I was
class in
invited
it?
with Dave Gruber Allen. He and I taught a.
But
one-
what's your background in improv?
It wasn't. It was comedy writing.
yes,
it was
and-
it was
Yes, and I don't-
it was comedy writing students.
Yes, and it was comedy. Yes, and it was comedy writing students.
They were at the film school, and they. So anyway, my point is that I was saying how once you get into a writing room, yes and goes out the fucking window.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
your job is to make the person with the pencil happy. You
Right.
know?
Right. Well, I also find that because I was talking to my friend, Mike Gibbons.
I don't believe you have friends. Boom, I'm on. Go ahead. I'm just
I
warming
gotta go.
up.
Thank you.
I don't know if you know Mike Gibbons of Mike. Have you met Mike Gibbons?
Sure. Yes.
Mike Gibbons
yes,
is
and
great.
I like him.
Mike Gibbons is my favorite. I used to listen to before I had my own podcast, which I listen to constantly now. I don't just like recording it; I like listening to it. I listen to every single episode of Greg's show and could identify every single episode. And I was listening to the show when he named me Best Caller of the Year or something like that.
Best
wasn't it?
caller.
No, what was it?
I think best guest.
Yeah, Best Guest of the Year. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think it was every year at the end of the year I picked the top episode.
Yeah.
And it was Andy's episode won that year.
Wow.
But I think it was runner up the other year.
I've
Corolla
always
won
closed,
top one.
and I love him and Gibbons. And Gibbons, the best part. Gibbons is hilarious. But the other thing is that he has he used to have stomach stuff, so he was always like,
Yeah. right.
How's he doing now with that?
His GERD.
His GERD, yeah.
Yeah, his GERD. You know, he's had his hip replaced. He's got GERD.
He has
He's
his
getting
hip
old.
replaced?
Yeah.
Holy moly!
Yeah. But we were talking about writers' rooms and about how the worst person in the room is the person that knows everything.
Right.
You know, I mean, you really do in a writer's room. It's not that you have to yes and, but you don't want your role in the room to constantly be the negator
Right.
of things.
Right.
And if you can be, if any advice I would give to a young writer, it's just contribute and let the showrunner decide what can go in and what doesn't go in.
Absolutely. That's your job in that room, is to make that person happy.
Yeah.
You know, and
Right.
I was out. The other thing I was telling him, the couple of tips that were just sort of room etiquette were, don't pitch a problem without a fix. You know, don't just identify a problem. You
Right.
know, this feels a little long here.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
then what's the cut?
Right,
You know,
right.
and the other one is, you know, they heard your joke. Stop pitching it.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for me though.
Yeah.
You know?
Never
Don't make the
re-pitch.
showrunner say no explicitly to your
Right,
joke
right,
if they
right.
have it. You know,
Right. Right.
everyone's a comedy person. They heard your joke. If it was funny and it was right, everyone would have laughed.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you know.
And don't repitch it a week later. We heard
No,
it the first
exactly.
time. It's like trying to get sex from your wife when she already said no, and you wait an hour.
I
And
think
you
that's
she's gonna
actually a
change.
law against that now. Oh, you thought that was just like you thought because you're married that whatever she says is not that relevant.
My Pope said.
My Pope says. Hey, you know, I like the current Pope. And I
Oh,
don't know if
do
you
you
know,
really?
I'm not normally a papal person.
No.
I probably have done that joke 4 times on your show alone. I'm not a papal person.
Wait, what about Jim Belushi?
Who died made Jim Belushi a big star?
How do you stumble on a joke you've said almost
Because
every
I'm
day
so excited
for a
about it.
decade?
I love it so much. I get actual like I could feel the butterflies going. And I love when it gets my favorite is when it gets no reaction, which I think is they don't know who Jim Belushi is.
They don't know who John Belushi is.
They don't know who John Belushi
Yeah,
is.
right. So you're not connecting with the millennials these days?
I don't. In fact, I like to alienate them early on in the show. I like
Yeah.
to keep an arm's distance between me and the audience. So you know, it'd be
It's right at Andy Kit. Hello.
hello. Maybe I'll do Philo T. Farnsworth. We were at the lab. I don't want to brag. We were at the lab last night.
Oh,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
We don't always go out
Mentioned
together,
this
but
like 8 times. Was this your Carnegie Hall or something?
I just want to say I do smaller rooms. A lot
Yeah.
of people wonder if I do small rooms.
The lab is what used to be a bar behind the Improv, and it's now a stage.
And that used to be a black box place.
Actually, I think that's the last time we were in the same room. It was like a Laura House show.
And I believe I bombed because I know I bombed every time I've ever been in that room.
I always do too, and yet it feels like home to me.
Oh no,
That
that's
same
my
way-
favorite
that
room
same
now.
way.
Really?
My favorite room because first of all, there's only gonna be 6 people. I don't have to justify it.
Yeah.
No reaction. Now you're in my wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse.
You enjoy it's almost like for you it's like when you see a sprinter line up at the blocks
Right.
and they kick the dirt a little bit with their cleats
That's
to
me.
get their foot in.
Yes.
That's you waiting to get no reaction. And that's when the show really
No,
starts.
with a small crowd and Andy, though, there's this certain what the hell is happening buzz that starts
Yeah.
to form with
Right,
him. They just
right.
can't, they just see that he's talking to talk, and they just
Yeah.
they just want to get on board somehow. And
Well, it's
True.
very much
True.
like there's a handful of comics that I put in the same sort of family. And it's odd because a lot of you have the same manager. But you're people that...
you're
that-
literally a family.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you-
That's true.
Bruce.
Maria
Bound by
Bamford.
commission.
Maria Bamford, Todd Glass, Jimmy Pardo.
He's not with Bruce anymore, but no falling out.
No.
No, I love that guy.
Brody
No.
Stevens I'd put in that category.
Yep.
People that are so present in the room and so spontaneous that you can't ever capture it on film, and nobody really tries, to be honest. But it
Why
doesn't.
would you really?
Why would you want to put that on
I would
film?
love to see you, and after I'm dead, go on for. You couldn't, unless you saw it live, you couldn't get that he was funny.
Right.
Did you see him on Eating It? You didn't laugh, right?
Right.
That's because you had to see. He's someone you had to see live.
You had to be there.
And he couldn't be doing his regular material.
Yeah.
and he had to specifically be making fun
He's
of him.
the NRBQ of comedy.
Hey, will you turn off that heater behind you? Just the knob on the right, turn it to the left.
Oh, geez.
It's a little warm in here. There you go.
Wow. And it's tied into the electrical system.
Yeah, the sound is going to be different now. I just realized I never have the heater on during the podcast.
Oh, so that's it. No, we have to. You're gonna dump the first.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
start
This
over.
time-
Room toned.
Room toned. Hey, or you know what they use instead of room tone sometimes?
What?
Just my actual audience reaction. Go out for hours.
Is it true that they're trying to bring you down to Venezuela to calm down the crowds? Just do your stand-up?
I had that exact joke. Was the exact joke because the joke was that different species laugh, and it's supposed to be true, and that like birds laugh, whatever. And then there was a laughter outbreak in Tanganyika apparently, and it's a true story.
He just made up a place.
No, I would use that,
Yeah.
and people were they were dying because they couldn't stop laughing. Eventually, they had to airlift in Jay Leno. Airlift Jay Leno in. I think the setup was 4 hours for that joke.
Yeah.
What do you think of Jay Leno's new car show?
I love it because the thing about it is it's nice to see that even on subjects he does care about, he shows no emotion.
Right.
Does he seem like he's that into cars to you?
He doesn't.
I mean, doesn't he? He's just like I found a way to write him off. This car runs on soup. Soup. I haven't spent a dime of my car show money.
I was driving through Topanga Canyon, and he drove by in a fire truck. And I just thought, all right, I get buying a fire truck on some level.
Right.
It's kind of funny to have like a 1938 fire truck. But is that the one you take through the mountain road
Right.
when you have a Porsche that's convertible?
I can't believe it was actually because I always think he makes up those stories too.
No, he has a fire truck.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Did you say where's the fire to him? And this car, I just keep my hamburgers in. That's all I can because all you do is eat the hamburgers.
I was at NBC. I was at head writer on Kinnear's show when
Hey now.
when Leno was still there. So you would see every day there'd be the different car. on the
Oh,
spot.
yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of his collection.
What happened to that Kinnear show? Because that was really good. He
Started doing movies and
had such a great vibe.
yeah.
You didn't like him.
No, he was okay.
He was okay.
good. He wasn't a comedian.
You talking about the Talk Soup show?
Well, no, I was talking about later. He took over Costas's show for 2
Oh,
years.
did the talk show. That's right.
Yeah,
That's what you
one.
wrote on.
Yeah, I did a little stint on Talk Soup too, but
You did
Yeah.
with Kinnear.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were his guy. He brought you with him.
No, it was I was when the show when later started, they brought me into it was my first gig. They brought me an interview, didn't give me a staff job, then gave me a Talk Soup job, and then 2 weeks later brought me back to later, and then I did both for like 6 months,
Yeah.
and then I was the head writer the second year.
Wow. Jesus, what a life.
You guys have a similar now, Greg. You've written on shows. Josh, you've written on shows. You could
Yes.
talk about that on the podcast.
Crashing was just canceled.
I heard.
I'm sure you made fun of Crashing on stage.
I didn't make fun of Crashing because of
He's
two
afraid
things.
of Judd.
No, that's why. I still have a thing in my. I still think I'm going to get into like a 40-year-old virgin or something. He's going to put me in the DVD version of his films.
He
or
loves
something.
you. He thinks you're hilarious. He's never used you?
No, because I started making fun of Sandler, and then he had to back away from me, which he should have backed away from me.
I
How is
see.
it going to help?
Yeah.
Should I stick with Kindler, who's got nothing going on? Or should I back up Adam, who has everything going on?
Yeah.
Which way should I go with it?
Yeah. So you feel like he had to pick sides?
No, well, it wasn't that. It's just that he
He had picked sides already.
he didn't ever said to me, "You fucking idiot," but I do remember talking to him about it, and because I knew I'd fucked up in some way with Sandler. I was like so naive about it. Hey, Adam doesn't like my material about how horrible his movies are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then Judd was like, "Well, you didn't have to say that." The whole thing was I shouldn't have said it on stage. Was the
Yeah.
accusation?
Right.
I mean,
So you never made fun of Crashing for that reason?
no. Okay, I'm glad you brought me to the moment. No, I don't want. Yeah, I would have made fun of it more, but I actually liked it when it started, and then I just got burnt out. I like the stuff with Artie.
Yeah.
And then I just got bored. I mean, this is the truth. I just got bored with it.
Yeah.
And as John Worster points out on the Best Show, there's now down to 17 sitcoms that are based on being a stand-up comic.
Right, I
We're
know.
down to 25.
Yeah, I know. I'm dying up here is off the air. Mrs.
I was in that
Maisel-
show. I was in that show.
Were you?
I'm dying up here. Yeah, I was. He doesn't believe. Is that because I'm such a... You thought my career ended, so you don't believe me? Look at them.
No,
Look at
I just-
Oh, were you?
I thought it was a bit meaning because you're always dying on stage.
Right.
And I got an
He was
acting
yes
part.
ending you in
Yeah.
a weird
Yes,
way.
and I'm on
Were
the
you,
show.
were you bombing in the scene that you were in?
Have you ever seen me do well?
he
Either in a...
he played an agent.
Oh, you did?
Yes. If you want to see me
Typecast.
do well, you come to a set and see me before they say action.
Yeah.
I'm so hilarious.
Yeah.
Everybody's laughing. I'm making fun of the makeup lady. As soon as they say action, I'm like, homina, homina. Homina, homina.
We just co-starred in a movie where Andy is playing a disgraced jockey.
We're
a
both in the
disgraced
movie.
former jockey.
Okay.
We're both in a movie now.
Really?
We've never been in a movie before.
Wait, so you guys are just doing everything together? You do stand-up together, you do the podcast together, you do movies
We
together?
live a few blocks apart, so it's like
Yeah.
we carpooled everything pretty much.
Right.
But the movie came from the podcast, I would say.
Oh, wow.
The director is a fan of the podcast.
No shit.
Yeah.
So he wrote a movie starring you two.
Well, he wrote a movie with Andy in mind,
Yeah.
and then I was going to do a cameo, and then the lead dropped out, and
Yeah.
he gave me the lead.
Wow.
This is so much fun. It was so much fun. It's called The Fiddling Horse. It's soon I will not be able to come down here to, you know what I'm saying?
You mean come down?
No, I mean come over here to this
Right.
area.
Yeah, yeah.
Why would I?
No. Would you allow me to come over to
Yes,
you?
like you're taping
Right.
Leno or something.
He'll
like
ask
that.
you to pick up TMZ on the way
Yeah.
if you come.
I went to Chelsea Handler's house
Like recently?
to interview her a while ago.
See, I have to start. Now, this is absolutely true. I listen to your podcast like religiously,
Yeah.
dressed as Moses.
Like who
What
would be
does
the
that
person?
mean?
But who would be the person that you call? You say you want to be on the show. They go, yeah, but you'll have to come here. Like, where's that line?
Oh, that's true.
Um,
me and you.
I did Chris Hardwick at his studio. I did Judd Apatow at his house.
Ooh.
A
When did you do Chris Hardwick?
At his studio.
couple
No,
times
when,
at his
when?
studio.
But I mean,
when At Midnight was still on.
oh, so you never said to him, "Hey, what about those things? Wasn't that great when you were, or not like something like that? Wasn't that fantastic when everyone hated you for a couple of weeks?" I'm just saying you could have gotten into it
Yeah,
with
but
him.
don't you think that hasn't he been
Vilified?
Vilified? Not
I don't
vilified. Resurrected?
That's what I was asking you about
Vindicated?
that.
Vindicated, I meant.
Vindicated?
Yeah.
Was he vindicated?
I believe so.
His comedy too?
Points.
He's another guy that I would not make fun of just because I'm afraid he wouldn't use me.
Yeah.
But he doesn't use me, except he did use me on points.
Did he bring you on At Midnight?
Yes, points.
How many times?
Once.
I think I did it twice.
Did you do it like? You saw the show, right? Everyone
Yes,
saw
I did.
Didn't you?
Not invited on.
Not invited on.
Yeah.
Didn't you think? Why is everyone going crazy on the show? Don't they know at home that we've come up with these lines 3 hours before? And then we're oh, that was quick on the buzzer. Should be a quiz show scandal.
Yeah.
What was the appeal to that show? Or you guys don't want to go on the record because you think it could come back?
I like Chris Hardwick.
Let me finish. That's the kind of show
Yes,
that they
and-
should be having more of on TV. Why don't they have more of that?
All right, so who's in your crosshairs right now? Because it's generally somebody that's annoying you.
Didn't
or
he
is,
by the way, didn't he produce a show of ours?
Let me finish. The type of thing
did he
is that
really?
He did. We did a thing called Kids Court with,
this was really fun.
And Chris Hardwick
and it
produced
was
it?
a Nerdist thing. Yeah, and I think he
Nerdist.
was still there. Yeah.
I don't have anything against anybody. It's all based on my own horrible problems of me, what could have been for me. He hasn't done anything wrong. Look, is he not funny? Yes.
You were doing so good. I saw the therapy. I saw all the years of therapy in play.
Yeah.
You were internalizing it. You were playing out how the psychiatrist said you
Right.
should, and then you couldn't do it.
He's been doing comedy for 20 years. Doesn't seem to be moving along in any way positively. But now I've this is me trying to back out. But you know what?
That's you backing out.
It's me. It's me. It's me. I'm the bad guy because I like to laugh.
Yeah.
I like to see a comic. You may be different. You guys may be different. I see a comic. I expect within a couple of minutes that he will get illicit laughter. But maybe that's me. I'm the bad guy.
Who makes you laugh?
You do?
Thank you.
This guy does.
Safe.
Todd
safe.
Glass does.
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Matt Malloy.
Yes.
He makes me laugh.
There's
Yeah.
women too, right?
Oh yeah, Maria Bamford. I'm terrible with
Way
names.
to save him.
I love Natasha
Yes.
Leggero.
Yeah.
She makes me laugh.
Yeah, and that Moshe Kasher's not bad either.
For a Jew.
Chirp, chirp.
I don't like the Jew. I'm not kidding around. I'm a Jew for Nazis now.
Do you have you can get the T-shirts at andykindler.net.
Jews for
You
Nazis.
didn't get the com.
That's right.
Somebody else got the com.
We have our own on our. Look, I'm not expecting you. I did send you a bunch of questions that you should ask about the podcast and its derivation. But we have. I actually have merch now on our website. Yes.
No, your website has nothing.
No, my website's terrible.
It's terrible. It starts out so good. The homepage
so
is beautiful. There's a nice photo that Susan Malgin did of you looking off into the distance.
It hasn't been changed.
And then you click on things.
You've got mail.
Yeah. And then it's just a giant unfinished project.
I should. My favorite thing is how Zach Galifianakis.
Its website as metaphor for his life.
Yeah.
That's really what
See?
it is.
I like that. My favorite part was when Zach Galifianakis just abandoned his remodel on his website because his things took off for him.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. It was like, okay, won't be coming back soon.
Yeah. So let's talk about this thought spiral. Let me plug your dates. Moon Tower, April 24th through 27th. Thought spiral.
Isn't that horrible?
Can I plug a date too?
Please.
All right. Acme Comedy headlining the 9th through the 13th of April.
Is that going to be? We're not going to be.
And I'm on the
then,
East
right?
Coast with.
Then we should. Well, maybe not.
Okay.
Why don't you turn the show over? I told you I'm not doing it unless it gets turned over. I'm not doing evergreen comedy.
Because I have depression, and if I don't bank a few in advance, I may be in the throngs of a depression and unable to make an episode.
How have you been feeling? We both have similarities, Josh. He's on. You're not on Adderall though. You're on.
I'm on Ritalin.
Ritalin.
Yeah.
But we both have ADD.
HD.
HD.
He doesn't have the attention span to get to the H.
Yeah. What was it again? What was I talking about? And so, but I don't suffer from. But you suffer from depression.
Oh, I thought you had depression also.
It's anxiety.
Oh,
it's
anxiety.
I didn't realize that I didn't realize I had that before I went into therapy.
How long ago did you realize you had anxiety?
When I went into therapy, I realized that my whole life I was anxious, and but wasn't identifying it.
How long ago was this?
2.5 years now.
Yeah. How has that affected
The
last
oldest
2.5
Jew
years?
ever to go into therapy.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
He knows all the material. I'm the oldest Jew to go. I'm on 40 milligrams of Prozac,
Yeah.
and I don't take it for the effects. I like it. Okay, so and he can tell you because he's seen me. The podcast started. Had I already been in therapy?
Yes.
And the podcast, when we first few weeks, we talked about me and my problems, and then we ran. I couldn't
Yeah,
come up with
and
anything
that
else.
completely ended after 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was all solved.
We talk about him and his problems.
But do you feel a lot better now?
Oh, I feel like a completely different person.
Really?
Because I never realized I hated myself.
Yeah.
I never realized that the hating of yourself, which I used to think was funny when Janine Garofalo's production company was I Hate Myself Productions. But like I never really thought about myself hating myself.
Yeah.
Like, and now I can identify those voices in my head that were like parental voices.
And do you use like cognitive behavioral therapy to change
No.
the voices?
I don't. Some people believe in the cognitive. Some people are only helped with OCD, severe OCD or ADHD with cognitive behavior
Right.
therapy. For me, it wouldn't work because when I'm checking, I realize that the reason why I'm checking everything, like the door 55 times in the car.
You have OCD also.
I have OCD and ADHD, which often goes together. I'm not. The great book called Delivered from Distraction is a really good book.
Yeah. I read.
I told you about that?
No, I read it.
Oh, okay.
Well, I read the first
Sometimes
12 pages.
he'll futz with the lock for 30 times, and then
Really?
he'll forget he's futzing with the lock and go futz with something else.
Oh.
That's true. And so the
Yeah.
thing is, if I did cognitive behavioral therapy, I would then say, okay, I'm willing to burn down my house. Because the reason why the reason why I check again is because I'm consumed with OCD and ADHD.
Right.
So if I was going to say the cognitive goes, you're going to say, I don't care if I check the light.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work for me.
Right.
What works for me is realizing what's going on with me, and then just realizing what it is
Right.
has been the main thing.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, I'm happy for you. I mean, it's funny because you really can change at any age. You know, people think that it all has to be done when you're in your, early teens or whatever. But, at any given point, you maybe get to know yourself without therapy well enough that when the therapy comes in, you can like take action a little bit easier.
Yeah, and sometimes you've cleared enough shit off the deck so that you can start seeing those switches getting flipped a lot more clearly too.
Right,
because
right.
your ego's gotten out of the way some at a certain age. And
Has it affected your stand-up in any way?
I never was afraid of it affecting like the Adderall or whatever of like, okay, now I'm going to go on stage and be like bored.
Right.
But it would have affected it if I had tackled the problem when I was young. I didn't know what the problem was. So for one solid year when I was doing stand-up, one solid year, all I was thinking was this: I am now holding the microphone in my left hand. Now I am turning to this way. Now I'm turning to. I couldn't, and I didn't understand what that thinking was. I didn't realize it was OCD.
But at the same time, you were in the moment and
No.
riffing and doing jokes.
No, it was before I.
Oh, you were just reciting an act?
Yes, it was before I become fully me. So I think if I had therapy, then maybe I would have worried before I was like comfortable on stage.
Yeah.
Which now it's always I'm going to kill. So what's the point of worrying? To me, it's like riding a bicycle. It's not funny.
When you say you're going to kill, you know that somebody in the audience is going to hang themselves after the show?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I get pretty blue sometimes. But now your thing is more depression.
I have depression and the ADHD, yeah. But I did this thing called transcranial magnetic stimulation, where I went in for like 3 months every day, 5 days a week for an hour. And they put magnetics electrodes on my head and buzzed me. And, Neil Brennan had great results with
I
it.
heard Neil, here's an example.
Yeah.
There was a time period where I heard every single podcast of his. So I'm a little behind. But he talked about going into the tank.
Yeah.
He talked about ketamine, too.
Oh, did he do ketamine
No,
as
with
well?
you. He was talking to you about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I might try ketamine next because the TMS worked a little bit, but not all.
How does it work?
Well, it stimulates a part of one of the lobes in your brain that is associated with depression, and it basically like wakes it up. And I had times where it felt really good, but I would say at the end, I don't know that it accomplished that much, and it's fucking expensive.
Is it intended to wake up a part that allows you to feel good, or is it intended to sort of change the part that's bringing you down?
It's supposed to make you feel good.
Okay.
It's supposed to wake up a part of you
Like
that
a
feels
dopamine
good.
receptor.
Yeah, but it's not
kind of
dopamine.
thing.
It's like it's cutting out even the receptors. It's going straight to the brain itself.
Okay,
Because the
so-
receptors are just taking chemicals and translating it into the brain.
So this
is
is
actually
electrical.
massaging the brain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
See, this is what the problem is. He's very smart. And then 2 sentences from now, what people don't know is that we have tiny dwarfs that live in our bloodstream. And they've just discovered this. Is dwarfs
Yes.
okay to say or no?
As long as they have a ring. If there's a magic ring, yes. I'm reading The Hobbit for the first time.
Are you serious?
Well,
I've never read it. No,
I'm listening
I meant
to it on
I've
tape,
Never,
I should
I've
say.
never heard it, so I didn't want to be one
I'm
of those
listening to it on tape.
And how is it?
It is funny, but it is all about dwarves. They talk about dwarves in funny ways. There's a lot of short jokes. There's a lot of, but it's really great. It's great to listen to because the narrator, and I should know his name, is this great British actor who does all the characters really well and the voices, and he sings songs. So I don't know. Do you listen to books on tape?
I don't because I've been obsessed with podcasts.
Right. Which other ones do you listen to?
Podcasts?
Neil Brennan. Well, he doesn't do one anymore, right?
No, I listen to. I'm into true crime. You know this about me now.
What about My Favorite Murder?
I do enjoy them.
Yeah, I
but
love
I'm
them.
so into true crime that sometimes I want to go right to the case.
Yeah.
And like there's a guy named Case. He does an impression of the guy in my Australian case file, True Crime.
Yeah.
And this line that he says is if they look like dress pants, but they aren't. They're yoga pants. Except it just goes like this.
They look like dress pants, but they're not. They're yoga pants.
They look like dress pants, but they aren't. They're yoga pants.
And Michael used to take my son and sleep with him. That was a Cockney.
Where's
I
that
can't do
from?
accents.
You
The
really
Michael Jackson documentary.
He looked like a magic man, but he wasn't. He was a predator.
He does great impressions. He does great impressions.
He does great impressions.
This guy's good.
He does fantastic.
I'm sorry.
He's spicy. But I want to say one thing.
That was
before-
Andy and I shot the movie in Louisiana, and
Oh, you did?
Andy is a fucking liability in Louisiana because like every
Yeah.
meal.
Is it spicy?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
the jambalaya, is that spicy? Well, it's just regular, it's just jambalaya. What about the etouffee? Is it spicy?
It's spicy. Excuse me, sir. You told me it wasn't going to be spicy. I found out spicy.
Well, it's jambalaya. So I just,
Yeah, but there's something spicy in it. Extra spicy. But one thing we've done, I wanted to tell you that we've done on the podcast, though, is we've had arguments on the podcast, fights, where I get my feelings hurt, and then we work it out on the podcast.
Like
So
a
he's
WTF.
well, more like just that he's been around me the whole time I've gone through all this stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so he really can, he could
Call
be
you
very
on
helpful
stuff. Yeah.
or call me on my stuff.
Yeah, right. Do you want me to call you on stuff also? I feel like I do.
Yeah, but with you, he'll hold a grudge.
Yeah.
No, never.
I can't
You've
believe
never
this.
gotten mad at me.
No, I told you I did get mad at you before I knew you. Remember I told you this?
No.
That I used to think you would ask me, did you mention the fact that you're 5'5" or something? No, that's not what you had mentioned. But did you mention the thing? And then you were going to say, you slammed me from the thing you asked me if I'd mentioned it. So
Wait, what are you talking about?
I told you that when we first worked together,
Doing stand-up.
yeah, that I thought you would try and sandbag me sometimes because I didn't get that you were.
Oh, you mean
that
from
was-
the stage? I
Yes,
would?
and I didn't get that you were just hilarious. I thought it was like
Oh.
everything. Because like he asked me, "Did you mention anything about Jews?" No, I didn't. Hey, could you believe the Jew? Nice going, Jew. Boy, were you Jewy today?
I alienated everybody at Largo because I would go on at Largo towards the end and I would shit on Bob Odenkirk,
Yeah.
Todd Barry, whoever was on that night. I would shit on them, and I didn't know any of them.
Oh, nice.
I was just doing it because I was like intimidated by them, and that was my reaction. And so some people got it and some people didn't.
Well, I didn't realize that. Also, he likes it. You enjoy the pranky.
Yeah.
You're almost like who's that guy who does the different voices? Who's funny? Phil Hendry. You're a little bit of Phil Hendry like.
Well, and I also do a thing with comedians when I'm on the road, and I do this without fail. The host, who I probably met for 3 seconds before the show, will introduce me, and then as the audience is clapping as I get to the microphone and he shakes my hand, I always say, "Thanks, faggot," and they never get it. They never get that I'm kidding.
Oh my god!
And they always get upset, and we have to talk about it
Every
later.
time, right?
Not every time, like half the time. I've had comedians like pull me aside and be like, "Did I do something to you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Who
Well, you
would-
always call me a faggot.
Who would seriously say that?
There was an Asian guy at the comedy store.
No, but who would seriously say that as an insult
Oh,
to
I know.
somebody?
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but an Asian guy got upset with you?
Yeah. He wanted to fight me. And I had to tell him I was kidding. With Bobby Lee. No. So, where are you working on the road? Are you going out? You doing dates in Moon Tower? Are you doing any other? Because your website didn't list any other dates.
You know what? It's just two sad things. I don't keep the website up to date, and there's not a lot going on. It's kind of a double whammy.
So the website, not a lot going on the website, reflecting my career.
Well, I'm doing less of arguing on Twitter, and I think
Are you?
Josh could back me up.
Oh,
on that.
that's good.
Yeah, that was my counseling.
That was like all consuming. You must have spent the whole day. Was it always on your phone or did you do it on a computer?
It was everywhere, and every person who cares about me in my life took me aside and said, "It's are you okay?" That kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is it that? Do you think people were poking you because they knew that you would answer?
No, because what Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. But what my therapist says is, she goes, "It's a fucking." I shouldn't say that, but this whole world is toxic for people who have what I have.
Yeah,
Social networking for an OCD person,
Yeah.
it's like a toxic soup
right.
because you're constantly checking all the time. Does everyone love me? Does everyone love me? Does everyone love me? I'm going to say something horrible now. Okay, this person left, but that person didn't like me because of.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to back off.
But they're funny tweets.
Sometimes they are.
No, very often they're really well worded.
I don't want to get rid of those. What I want to get
Yeah.
rid of is finding a guy who could be a ghost
Right.
or a robot.
Right. I want to ask you this: when you go on the road, and this is a segment now on FitzDog Radio, which I know you love segments on my show.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Overheard.
Overheard.
Well, let's do overheard. I haven't done
Okay.
overheard in so long.
I actually have.
All right, good. This is a segment called
Overheard.
Overheard, which Jimmy Fallon's show stole from me, along with another show that remember we used to do. We used to do Liar's Poker, and everybody would tell us 2 stories, and one was true and one was false.
Oh no, I don't
And
remember
you have
that.
to
Was
guess
your
which
bit?
was true. Yeah, and then they stole that as well.
Oh God.
Overheard. You have one?
Yes, I was at the hospital. A friend was in the hospital. He was okay, but so I see these 2 doctors talking, and they're just a little bit out of my earshot. But they closed the conversation with, "His penis looks great," and they just it was like not even.
great.
They've been in this business so long they didn't even. There's no chuckle to be
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
His penis looks great. So that's the only
Do you
overheard I
have
ever
one?
had.
Yeah, I have a couple recent ones.
All right.
I have one, a really great cell phone conversation snippet walking by my house. It was a girl on the phone going, "Okay, so you'll talk to the drummer and tell him how he can play better?" "Okay, good. I'll tell Jim."
Oh, that's so good. So you'll talk to the drummer and said he can play better. Oh, that's so good.
But the best part about that is there was a long conversation, and then at the end of conversations, people always want to give you a to-do list.
Uh-huh.
Of whatever was accomplished.
Right,
They're
they were
gonna
wrapping
say,
it up.
So you're going to send me that thing? So you're going to tell the drummer to be better?
That's so good.
Going over the deliverables for the conversation.
right.
And then she said, "And his penis does look great." See how I call it back to his story?
And you'll tell him his penis looks great?
Yeah, and you'll tell him his penis looks great.
The other one was at the airport in Chicago the other day. A woman walking irate down the concourse on her phone going, "They steal your luggage here. I'm worried about my Gucci and my Victoria's Secret." That's what I heard.
Was she African American?
No.
Yeah.
That's what I thought at first. I thought at first that we have to excise that out before he said it. I thought he was going to go, "Hello there. Hello there, Dumbo." That was the most shocking part of my life. I had never seen Dumbo.
Oh, the most racist movie in history?
And we love Dumbo.
Yeah.
Me and the wife have a Dumbo.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's the Black Crows. They go,
Yeah.
"Hello there, Dumbo."
Yeah.
And it was like I turned around thinking it was the 40s.
I ain't never seen no elephant fly. All right,
I feel much better about my bad impression of a white woman.
No, because that's the thing. We can't. I did think the same thing you thought, and it was not a. So now the hate.
No, it was a
That's
bad
right.
impression of a black woman. I was trying to just give the emphasis. That I
Oh, was
he
it?
copped
Was it
to
a
it.
black
He
person?
copped to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an overheard and a cop to it.
Well, the T-shirt, the Grapefruit Simmons T-shirt story, right?
No. I mean, you
never
probably
heard
told me
this?
about it. I
I'm
don't
going
remember.
to tell this story. My listeners hate my guts because I've told the story so many times. But I'm hawking T-shirts, so I need to keep telling the story. So, overweight black woman calls up the Faneuil Hall Comedy Connection in Boston, and she says, she goes, "Who on the show tonight?" And they go, "Well, it's Anthony Clark, Jackie Flynn, and Greg Fitzsimmons." And she goes, "Is Grapefruit Simmons the headliner?" You never heard that?
I do. I did
Yeah,
hear
right.
it. I did hear it because I still can't believe that you didn't change your name to Grapefruit Simmons.
I know. But I did make T-shirts. One of my fans drew a grapefruit with my glasses and hat on it and my face, and you can buy them at the website.
Does that move good?
Oh, yeah.
He used to do this. Right in the podcast, he goes, "Andy, do you like your pen?" "You do." "Well, because it's a Parker Jotter, right?" He would try to segue into, "Andy, you don't like to go to the post office. Am I right about that?"
And you worry about your weight and your acne, right?
"Andy, when you..." Well, that's actually true.
And you're looking for a new web server, aren't you?
Are you looking for do you like good, clean design for your websites? I do this joke that never works, which is, it's like people who listen to podcasts love to have food delivered to their house uncooked. And I go through like several examples, and you can tell that some people have never listened to a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people like food delivered to their house and to create an environmental disaster every time it's delivered in 5 boxes with
Right.
styrofoam and ice packs. And
Do you want to pay for the privilege to prepare kale? Do you hate kale, but if it was delivered to you and portioned out, wouldn't that be better?
Do you want to save time by having uncooked food sent to your house so you have to spend an hour preparing it?
Did they lie about how long it's going to take to prepare it?
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
My wife took the bait once, and I made her cancel very
Hours
quickly.
and everything is add salt. Add some more salt then if you don't.
Yeah, right.
Add a little more salt. Not liking it, some pepper, and then more salt and butter.
The thing is, I actually cook. So,
I know,
so,
you don't need
it. Is that right?
Yeah,
You
so
cook.
like,
What do you cook?
I cook a lot of stuff, but it's like I'd prefer to pick out my own ingredients,
Right.
and I never would use as many ingredients as comes in that box.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I cook simple.
And each ingredient has its own plastic container.
Yes,
that will
exactly.
be in a
He made
landfill forever.
He made me the wife, a creme brulee.
Really?
Have you had that at someone's
My
home?
dog is named Brulee because he's the same color as a creme brulee. Did you know that?
Because you tried to burn him with a torch that time.
Oh, don't say that because it's true that he was guilty of things with animals. First of all, it's a running thing on our podcast. Bestiality is a running thing on our podcast.
It is because Andy, the affection my dog shows Andy is filling some gaping hole in his life.
I get
So
an
by running
erection.
joke, you mean the dog runs when he sees Andy?
Oh, I get an erection,
Dog loves
and I
him.
rub it against the dog. Now I'm wrong.
Do you want to know the creepiest thing of all time?
That was
Not
the
that.
crazy thing.
I wasn't even paying attention to what you said
What-
because I wanted to tell you the next thing, which is why you're so much better at podcasting than I am.
I wanted you to tell you my penis looks great now.
So I took a picture with, Allison Rosen.
Yes, I love Allison Rosen.
So she and I do a
Do you know
pod-
Allison Rosen?
I do not.
She was Adam Carolla's sidekick for a long time,
Okay.
and she and I do a podcast together called Childish, which is about raising children.
That's cool.
So I took a picture. She just had a new baby, and so I went over to do a podcast.
She has a second baby
She's
now?
a second baby.
Wow.
So we went to do a podcast, and there's a picture of she and I standing there, and she's holding the baby. Baby's looking at me. I'm smiling. I posted on Instagram, and then I get people apparently, I don't know how this happened, but apparently I look like I have an erection because I have on tight gray sweatpants, and my penis is big.
And generally, it's big.
It's generally big,
Yeah.
and so it was presenting, and I didn't realize it in the picture, and I got dozens of people going like, "Nice cock, Greg. Looks like you really like Allison's baby." Like it's really horrifying. I don't want to read some of the comments if I can find them.
That sounds like the joke that I would do. I thought it was my version of the wait 4 hours was good, but I realized it was hacky. But I was like, they say wait 4 hours. At 3 hours, I'm going to cancel my swim class. Cancel my trip to the art museum. That guy really must love Moreau.
All right, here's some of them. FitzDog laying nice. Were you headed to the strip club? First questions. What's with the sweatpants? Second question. What's with the bulge in the sweatpants? Here's the picture.
Let me see. Oh, but it looks like shadowing though. To me.
That's what I
It's
said.
a little trick of the light. But
Yeah, it's a little bit of shadowing, but the crown looks a little bit pronounced. I mean, if it was just her, I would laugh about it. But with the baby being there, it's really creepy.
Did she react to it too?
She laughed. She laughed about it.
I had to cut around Pete Lee's package a little bit in the documentary I made.
He made a documentary about comics going to Hong Kong.
Yes.
And would he have an erection or what was it?
No, he just
Who did?
Pete Lee did.
Yeah.
It's called "I Need You to Kill" with Segura and
Oh,
Pete Lee
yeah,
and Chad
yeah.
Daniels.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
I directed that, and he.
Oh, wow.
But there was a bit where he was actually calling attention to his penis,
Yeah.
and then it was very presented. It was
On
just the way,
stage,
the
he
way
did?
it was lit, so I had to cut around that as well.
Yeah.
I never get that note when I'm acting. Andy.
It played different. It played differently on camera than in the room.
Andy, for continuity, can you try to hide your huge... I love that I can curse now. I've changed.
Do you have a big cock or a small cock?
Oh, it's unbelievable. My cock...
That
it's
doesn't
in-
answer the question.
Well, I'll tell you. I will answer the question for you. When my penis... I have a tattoo on my penis. Did you know that?
Oh, geez.
No.
Settle
It
in.
says shorties on it.
It's a
But that shorties on it. And people
Shorties.
make fun of it. When it gets hard, it says Shorties Pizzeria. We deliver. Closed Tuesday between 12 and 3. Ask about our calzones. Catering is our specialty. Call us at the fax number if you don't get us on the thing. 8.2 point... sorry, I ran out of examples. I'm not folding it in half
Wait,
for
will you
anyone.
do my favorite joke?
Yeah. Which one is it?
The son asking the father for.
I said to
raising
the
his
son
allowance.
to his father, I said, Dak, I borrowed $50. I said, well, where am I going to get $49? And the son goes, look, all I need is $48. And then the father goes, look, if the last thing I would do, unless I was dying from a disease, is give you $46. He goes, all I need is $44 to pay off an abortion. And if I had $44 in abortion, I go all the way down to zero.
You are going by ones. Usually that
Yeah,
joke
usually
is by
goes-
tens.
that's right.
Wait,
Usually
I
that
don't
joke-
remember the son coming down in price. Also,
Look,
you added a second
No.
character.
I
to the
yes
joke.
ended it, baby.
Wow.
You can do it in one line.
I know what I knew. it was
$80? What do you need $70 for? I would
Yeah.
never give you $60.
$60.
Yeah.
$50?
Yeah.
$40? You think $30? If you're telling me that $20
He's doing
is
it
what,
like the Price is Right mountain climber over here.
$10?
Yodelity.
Let's count down to the numbers you're not going to get. 9, 8, 7, 6, $5. Keep counting down for the joke. Have you heard this joke? Everyone loves it. I called the law office of Bernstein. Then Bernstein. I said, is Mr. Bernstein home? He said, no, I'm sorry. He said, me. I said, Mr. Bernstein there. He goes, no, I'm sorry. He's having an operation. I said, Mr. Bernstein. I said, Mr. Bernstein says, speaking! I haven't done that 12 times in the show.
No, that was great. That was great.
Mr. Bernstein, that's very important. Mr. Bernstein,
Welcome to Jackie's Joke Hunt. Remember that?
is that Jackie the Joke Man?
He had a show on Sirius XM called Jackie's Joke Hunt.
Oh,
Yeah, I
geez.
swear to God.
He wouldn't not let. That's not. That's a good example of a joke you do, but not the name of the show.
Right. All right. So this is the new segment on the show. It's called "How Do You Pack?" Now I ask comedians that go on the road a lot, like, because everybody's so quirky, and you have OCD. So I'm curious, when you go on the road, what's your ritual for packing?
Oh, God. Give him an hour.
It is an absolute nightmare. And
Really?
my wife's exactly like me. We're always running hours behind. We're always rushing and not sleeping before I go on the plane. There's a million different plastic bags with the zip tops and the small portion bags. So I try to make a system where I put all these things into little bags, and then it's
What
getting
kind
better.
of things are in the bag?
Well, I can't take just one Alka-Seltzer.
Uh.
I have to take 7 Alka-Seltzers, because what if I ran out of them? And if I'm going to take 7 Alka-Seltzers, you don't want it all in one bag, because what if you lose that bag?
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
it's crazy, and I also have a bag that you have to pack neat if it works. So it's the wrong bag for my
So
style.
it's carry-on.
Yeah, and now I'm getting better, but it's taken years.
Do you have a list so you don't forget what to pack?
That'd be good. I've heard of those.
So do you do it the morning of, or you do
No,
it the night before?
I do it. No, days before.
Oh, you
because
do.
we keep changing our thing. Goes this time we're packing today.
Yeah.
4 weeks before the trip.
Right.
We're terrible at it. And I imagine you're not. I always imagine everyone's not unhealthy like me.
I have my list. I bang out packing in like 10 minutes.
And Josh similarly
About the
does
same,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you both on time? Run on time?
Yeah.
I always run late. If I have a flight at 7:15, I will wake up at 6.
I hate that part.
Wow.
I need
Because
to.
I'm 15 minutes from the airport. I'm packed the night before, and I literally get up, brush my teeth, and I walk out the door.
Yeah.
And it takes 15 minutes to get to the airport, and I'm there an hour early.
Doesn't always work though, right?
No.
Have you missed it?
It's like my uncle was at the racetrack. He goes, I have a system. And I said, well, does it work? He goes, yeah, it works sometimes. Not sometimes, others not. I go, I have that system too.
But I figure the time that I don't waste by getting to the airport an hour and a half early, I may miss a flight once a year.
So you're going
Yeah.
for lifetime totals, kind of?
Lifetime
All right.
totals, it's net less time wasted.
All right.
How many flights have you missed?
No, not that many. One time I was flying to the San Francisco Punchline, and I got to the airport, and the gate, it said gate 17B. So I'm sitting at 17B, and I'm kind of spaced out because I didn't take my Adderall that day. And then all of a sudden, like I'm looking at my watch, my phone, and I'm like, the flight was supposed to leave at 5. And now it's 5:10, and they still haven't had us. I figure the flight's just loading late, And they changed the gate, and it was literally 17A. It was like next to me. And I just didn't hear them making the announcements, and I missed the show that night. I had to call Molly and say, I'm sitting at the gate, and I just...
How'd she react? See, I always
She laughed at me. She thinks I'm funny.
That's my big fear. You don't have the
That
accompaniment.
also shows how much of a draw I am, that she can just swap in.
You can also, it's San Francisco, though.
Yeah.
You can replace someone
Yeah,
there.
they can just call up Larry Bubbles Brown, and they're covered.
But you don't agonize over. See, that'd be the worst thing that could ever happen to me.
No, it's no big
But
deal.
I'm better now. But that used to be the problem for me.
Right.
I would rather if I knew I would die, if it meant not going to. It's like I had my appendix not burst, but I missed the show because my appendix ruptured or whatever. So my whole thing was that would be the worst thing in the world. You have to go do every show,
Right.
and I have that part of me that I have
I've
to
missed
go.
very few shows in my life. Very, very.
But you
few.
don't get scared like, oh my God, I
No, I
missed
just
it,
figure in
and
the
they'll kill
scope
me.
of life, you're gonna miss. Like with the podcast that I didn't record, I didn't freak out that much because it's gonna happen. I've been doing this for 10 years every week. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
So it's just life. It's gonna happen. Once in a while, you're gonna get erectile dysfunction. It's not
Right.
gonna happen all the time.
But I wish it didn't. It happens all the time with me now.
Does it?
So,
Oh, because
psychological. The doctor. I tried to get some pills for it. The doctor says, "No way. You got to get it's in your head." I'm saying this.
I can't get it with my wife, but I get it when I'm holding babies.
Well, the thing is,
That's
doctor
my
said.
Viagra.
My doctor said it's not going to ever get hard, but maybe you could bunch it up, and with a running start, ask your wife if that would work.
Use a ball, Andy. Just put a
Have
ball
I sickened
in there.
you? It's a little sickening, right?
A little second.
Yeah.
All right. That
Oh,
was
we
a
didn't
good
do the new
segment.
thing, did we?
Well, you told me how you pack. I mean, unless you want to get more in
yes.
detail about
I
it.
wish I could send you. Well, you'll see. I have all. My wife
I'll
and I.
see. When am I going to
No, you won't see. But my wife and I both enjoy. It's called Muji. It's a store. It's a Japanese store that has everything is little.
But it still
bags.
sounds like a word you'd make up and slip into something.
All of a sudden, a little emoji. So we have all these different little clever ways to make things into small things,
Yeah.
and that's what we use.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
traveled with you. You're geniuses. Oh, my
Wow.
God.
It's a little sarcasm there.
What
It's
other
horrible.
kind of stuff do you put in the bags? Alka-Seltzer?
I use hand. Okay.
See, but Andy, but if he needs something from his bag at the gate or something, it's like taking everything out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if the Muji people are really had a plan for Andy exactly.
By the way, Muji, if you use FitzDog in the promo code, you
Is that
can
true?
get 3 containers of Muji.
Here's how he does it, right? He goes, yeah, you go to Amazon, you put FitzDog. Don't be an asshole about it. Hey,
Don't be a douche.
don't be a douche. But here's an example of my life. I took this today. What if I need a hand sanitizer?
Right. Yeah.
What if I need that? So this, I also have a million different little small Kleenex things, like tiny little tissues.
When I cleaned out my mom's house after she died, every coat she had the exact same. Had like one of those,
Yeah,
2
yeah,
Sudafeds,
Right.
some Kleenex.
Oh,
but every single coat
that's
had the
amazing.
exact
Did you
same.
find anything that you were really like that meant something to you that you kept that you didn't expect to find?
Yeah, there were some letters and photos that I
Oh,
had
really?
access to. Yeah.
What kind of letters?
There were some love letters from my dad. There was like
Oh,
some.
that's so nice.
There was a funny series of like my mom's college sorority dances where like there was like 4 years in a row, and it was like she's with my dad, she's with my dad, she's with another dude,
Oh,
she's with my dad.
that's
Yes.
hilarious.
And I know that she had like given him an ultimatum at some point, and that must have been the big ammo. That must have been the big
great.
ammo.
Oh
play.
my God, that's so
great.
cool. Oh.
Yeah, when my dad died, I had written my dad letters throughout my life. I've always been very kind of like effusive, and for a man, I've always been kind of emotional and effusive. So I write when I write a birthday card, it's like both sides,
Right.
And so I used to write my dad letters. My dad was more tough, and so I would write him these heartfelt letters. Like he got fired one time, and I wrote him how much I loved him and how talented he was. Blah, blah, blah. He would never acknowledge that he got the
Right.
letter,
Oh man.
and I thought, all right, he just doesn't care about them. And then when he died, we were cleaning out his desk, and I found every one of the letters tied up in
Oh,
string.
man.
in his
Tear
desk.
stains on the
Tear
ink.
stains. Yeah.
He's not making. It sounded for a second like he was making fun of your dad.
No,
You
I
were
wasn't.
getting
I was.
very-
I was
No,
trying
but
to.
yeah,
I was
he was
trying to
having
bring
fun.
out
It was
the.
like
I was
this-
trying. This was theater of the mind.
Well, he
Andy.
snapped
This
like a
was-
serial killer. Yeah. Yeah. I found letters from my dad. like it hadn't been introduced. What the fuck you talking about my letters for my dad for? But his dad was a disc jockey, not disc jockey, but what do you?
He was
what
a
you call-
radio broadcaster.
Yeah, and in New York, and no, Philadelphia,
New York. Yeah.
And tell him what was his name?
Bob Fitzsimmons. He was like one of the top guys in New York my whole life.
Cool.
And I have taste. See, there's Maxell box up there. That's all audio tapes of his radio shows.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Death is a theme for our podcast.
And did he do?
I
Did he do
know.
like call-in kind of shows? Or did
Yeah.
He...
And Mayor Koch would call in every single day.
Oh, nice.
And they would argue about politics. Koch was a little on the right.
Yeah, he was. He
Yeah.
was very much on the right.
Yeah.
Did he say, "How am I doing?" when he called your father? Don't ask me how I'm doing. How am I doing?
He's dead.
Oh, come on. You could have really gone longer with the pause. We've done a 10-second pause once, right?
Yes.
No, it happens to be true that I did sleep with my mother when I was 4. Sleeping.
Okay, if you want to,
Sleeping, not a sexual thing.
If you want to see me do stand-up comedy, I'm going to be at the Tacoma Comedy Club April 11th through the 13th.
I've
Good
heard
time
it,
of
but
the
have
year
you
to
been
be
there
in
before?
Tacoma. Yes.
Is it nice?
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to be in Chicago at the Den Theater on May 4th, which is they just renovated and like built this incredible theater. Maria Bamford was just there last week, and you should go. You should check
The
it
Den
out.
Theater.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it where the Lakeshore was? No.
No.
I'm not sure
I don't
where it
actually-
is.
Might be. I like the Lakeshore.
DC Draft House, May 24th and 25th.
That's a great room.
That's a great room, huh? I
I'm
like
gonna
the people that run
I
that.
swear-
Except the guy sits in the green room. It's a little tiny green room, and he sits next to you in it the whole time.
That wasn't the guy from the club.
He had his hand on my knee.
No, I'm telling you. I told you 4 times.
it's a woman owner.
The owner would not be naked from the waist down and asking you, "Can I rub jelly on you?" I have to make the joke even more and more.
Atlanta Punchline, June 6th through the 8th, and Tampa Side Splitters, June 13th through 15th. Yeah.
That's
Can't
a
wait
great
for
club.
that. Yeah.
Say hello to Bobby Jewell.
Bobby Jewell, is that the guy's name?
That's the guy's name. Next to Side Splitters in Tampa, after the show, which always goes well, when the crowd wanted to take me out, but there happens to be a great wood-fired pizza place right next door.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's really
It's
great.
right on the water, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
I hear that there's also a good side repair shop after you come out of Side Splitters.
Yeah. You go past Gusbusters. Rib ticklers is sometimes open on the weekends.
What can I say? You guys are the best.
I love you. Now you had to go on. I felt terrible because you had to go on. It sounded like you were sounding like making like we had a feud going on.
I didn't know, and I didn't want to bring it up during the podcast because I didn't really know what the base of truth was in it. But I've reached out to you now for
I know, it's not right.
at least 6 months,
Yeah.
texting you.
Texting
and you
me.
just literally never responded.
No.
And then I went on Twitter and I wrote, Andy Kindler won't get back to me. And within 15 seconds, he texted me.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
from therapy. It's all from therapy. It's all
But
from
were,
therapy. It's
were
getting
you
better.
withdrawing from friends over the last 6 months?
It's a matter of I can't answer a phone. There was a time period where I couldn't where I wouldn't answer phone calls.
Right.
And then I would just I see your text and I go, I gotta answer back.
When I was in
Yeah.
Chicago the other day, I got a voicemail from someone who I still don't know who it was, but their message was, "Tell Andy to listen to his goddamn voicemail." Jesus.
Really?
That was the only message on my phone.
Wow.
I think it's the same person who's
Was
trying
it from
to.
Vancouver?
Oh. Oh.
And the way that this podcast happened today was I wrote on Twitter,
should Andy return?
Should Andy return to FitzDog Radio? And there was an outpouring of people saying that like you're their favorite guest on the show, and it's been too long, and Andy, why won't you do it? And nope. Once in a while, there was like,
Well, here's how self-involved comedians are. It's unbelievable.
Comedians.
Comedians.
Just say me.
We went to the Brody Stevens thing, and it was very emotional. The first thing we go is, "I'm sorry you didn't return your call." That's the first thing I do is I see him. I haven't returned. And we literally spent 4 minutes in the outside area
negotiating.
Why
the
does that happen?
podcast.
Have I insulted
Yeah,
you in some way?
Right. Yeah.
At a funeral for somebody else.
And then you went, "This isn't appropriate." I went, "You're right," and I just walked away.
Who was with us then? There was another person standing there.
Your wife?
Oh, okay. That's not my wife. She was not there.
Yes, she was.
Oh, she was.
Gibbons made a nice speech, huh?
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Zach made
was
an
amazing.
incredible speech. Yeah, that was really what a night. I still haven't healed from it. I still haven't really taken it all in. Still,
I know.
you know.
It's hard to. And the people worked at the comedy. I don't ever usually go to the comedy store, but people worked at the comedy store loved.
Yeah, they
Brody.
truly
They
did.
loved
I
him.
mean, he lived there. He was there a few hours a night, every night. And he was just very connected to every single person. He remembered everybody's name, and he'd see you, and he'd be like, Andy Kindler, Jewish. Did spots on Letterman for years.
Lived in
Letterman loves
Reseda. Had an office in Encino.
positive energy, little OCD. All right, listen. Let's go out on that.
We love you, Brody.
We love you, Brody Stevens. And J. Elvis Weinstein, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Andy, you're the best. And thank you also to Omar Najam, who does my producing and editing. And thank you guys for listening. God bless America.